Hey everybody, um, I wanted to do a TSW 2-year update. So when I put my very first video on YouTube, it was my 1-month update, and I uploaded it on November 26th. So on November 26th, when I uploaded, I was already a month off of steroids. So on the 26th of this month, which is in 5 more days, so I'm 5 days early making this video, I'll be 2 years. So not quite, I still have 5 more days, but I figured I would make this video now just in case if I experience a anniversary flare, which some people have. Normally around every time they hit like around the year, another year mark from when they originally stopped the steroid creams or all steroids in any form, they may experience we call it an anniversary flare in the TSW community. So right now, my skin is doing pretty good, flare wise. The only parts of me that really flare still is, I'm gonna scoot my chair over a little bit to show you, is just like, and you can't really see, you can still see where there's texture compared to, you know, like up here, because my red sleeves stop like I want to say maybe a little bit higher, but around between here and here, my red sleeves stopped from my wrist all the way up. So you can kind of see, I'm trying to get the light on it. Oh, that made it worse, okay. So this area right here kind of goes across, and you can kind of see where it's a little bumpy and the texture. This right here still flares a little bit, and I mean, when I say flare, I mean it is reminiscent of my original childhood eczema. It is not like TSW flare. And I don't do anything and it heals on its own. Because if you've watched my previous videos, you know that moisturizers and moisturizing my skin has not been my friend throughout this journey. I find it better for my skin when I just use absolutely nothing. If I use any kind of soap in the shower, it is unscented. It will have the eczema symbol on it. And I don't use it all over my body. I mean, armpits, private area, and butt. That's it. And I wash it off. I've just recently, in the past couple of months, started shaving with the razor again on my legs and on my underarms. Before, I would just use an older pair of my husband's clippers that he wouldn't use anymore, and I would just use that to shave my legs and shave my underarms. And I never really had issues with my underarms or my legs going through TSW. My legs and my feet didn't really get affected. It was just mainly my torso, my back, my arms, my chest, neck, face, ears, all of that. Back of the neck, all of those things, and my scalp. So anyway, that's really it for flare, is just on my arm. And sometimes I will get one on the other arm as well, about the same area. And I mean, no bigger than a dime of U.S. currency. If you're watching this and you're not from the U.S., a dime is a piece of U.S. currency. It's a coin, and it's about that big. And like I said, I normally just don't use anything, and it goes away on its own. Now, just the other day, just to see, I did use I had a sample from my dermatologist here in Wyoming where I live. It is not the same dermatologist that I had when we lived in Georgia. So if you've watched my other videos, you've seen where I've talked about how I moved. So I used to live in Georgia, and then me and my husband, my family, we relocated to Wyoming. And my derm here is magnifique. She is amazing. But anyway, so she had given me some samples of moisturizers to try, and I asked for them. She didn't force me or tell me you need to moisturize. No, I asked for them because I just wanted options to play around with, because throughout this journey, I have tried moisturizers on and off, and then every time I would try one, it just wouldn't work out for me, and then I just end up using it on my kids. So it was a little sample of the CeraVe Healing Ointment. So I have tried a few different ointments. Vanicream was one of them, and I forgot what another ointment was. I want to say just plain Vaseline. Neither one of those worked for me when I was still really red and irritated. Like, all of this would be red, and then I would have splotches come up on my forehead that were red. It didn't work. It made my face and my neck more itchy, or it made me go bright red. It just didn't work. So I did, when I got out of the shower the other night, I did try a teeny tiny amount of the CeraVe Healing Ointment. And my theory was that lotions haven't worked. Light lotions haven't worked. Oils have not worked. And ointments in the past did not work. But that was when I was following the instructions from the dermatologist in Georgia, who said, you need to slather your skin in this. And so my theory was light lotions, or lotions in general, probably are not working because they're not holding in the moisture throughout the entire day that I need. And so my theory was that even if I used a super thin amount of ointment, that it is still thicker than a lotion, and so therefore it would last longer. And so in the past, like I said, I would slather it. This time I just used a teeny tiny amount just to barely even feel it on the skin. And the CeraVe Healing Ointment, I really like the consistency of it. It doesn't leave a greasy feel. If you're someone who, like me, when I was younger, my mom used to slather me in Vaseline on my arms and then have to cut tube socks and put them on because I would itch in my sleep. And I hated the sticky feeling of Vaseline. I hated it. I still hate it. I don't like it, and I don't like to feel sticky. I don't like my clothes sticking to me. It just really, really makes me very, very ill thinking about it. I don't like it. So I tried that, and I woke up the next morning, and the little flare that I had was pretty much gone, except for the texture that you just saw and a little bit of flaking, like a little bit of dry, flaky skin. So I would say that it helped, and for now, I will continue to do that. Also, I just recently went back to my dermatologist because now my new concern is acne. And I'm not saying that my acne is bad. Right now, today is a good day for my face. But I'm also having acne breakouts now on my chest and also on my back. So while my acne is not horrible and it's not, super bad like other people who have severe acne, I have noticed that within the past few months that my acne is starting to get worse than when it originally started a few months ago. And I'm not trying to wait around and see if it is going to get severe because I can do something about it now. So I did go talk to my derm, who hasn't seen me, because I mentioned in my last video, I believe, that I was doing light therapy. And if I didn't mention it, I was doing light therapy for about 3 months straight. And then life just kind of got crazy. I have had like 2 surgeries, 1 major surgery. My kids started school this past August. Life has been hectic. And then my major surgery that I had was like a 8 to 12 week recovery. So that was almost 3 months right there of healing. And everything's fine, by the way, with me needing surgery. So anyway, I went and saw her actually 2 days ago and talked to her about the acne. She prescribed me Axone 7.5% gel. It's not a steroid, does not contain steroids. From my understanding of what the medication is, the active ingredient is called Dapsone, and it is antimicrobial and antibacterial. And I've tried it twice. So guys, this isn't like, oh, it works fantastic, or oh, don't use it. I would never tell anyone to not try something except for steroids, but that too has limitations. If you're dying and you need them, then obviously use them. So yeah, I just have recently, and I have not used it all over my entire face. I have only used it on these active pimples right here, and then a couple of these over here, because if I am going to have a reaction, I don't want it to be all over my face. I would rather it be in just, 2 spots. So she prescribed me that, and then she also prescribed a benzoyl peroxide wash for my chest and my back. And then the best thing about that appointment was, which she knows, the dermatologist here, she knows my stance on steroids, that I will not use them. And when I went and saw her for my original problem, which is, eczema, TSW, and that I just wanted to do light therapy, that I did not want medical intervention at all, besides just the okay to use the red light therapy box to get in and get the treatments. But actually using any kind of medicine, I didn't want to use any medicine. She respected that decision. She never told me I would not heal my skin. When I told her that my skin did not tolerate moisturizers, she said that I know my skin best, and that she was on board for me to try whatever I wanted to try. So I love this. She's actually a nurse practitioner that works at the dermatologist's office. So she is not the owner. She is not the dermatologist. She's the nurse practitioner. But I have spoken with the actual man who owns the facility, who's the head dermatologist. And I have gotten nothing but respect from him as well, and great advice from him. Because I had a question about light therapy one time and not using moisturizers, and he said that hopefully with using the red light therapy, my skin would, after weeks and weeks of using it and getting those treatments in, that my skin would start to tolerate moisturizers better. That was his theory, and that was what his goal for me was, and my goal for me was just to try something else to help with healing and cellular turnover and those things without medicine. So, but she was like, I haven't seen you in a while, because it's been almost probably close to 6 months since I've been. I know at least 4, because like I said, my surgery was 8 to 12 weeks. And then before that, my referral had expired. So then after I got the referral, obviously I found out I needed surgery. So I hadn't been in quite a few months. And so I was asking her, I told her that I didn't want to try anything for acne over the counter, because a lot of the products have fragrance. And then with me having eczema and sensitive skin, I didn't know if maybe there was something that needed to be compounded for my skin, like for the pharmacy to compound it. specifically for me, or what did she think? And so she was like, yeah, well, how is your eczema doing, by the way? And I was like, yeah, you remember I told you about my whole quitting steroid story and all that? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, this is what my arm looks like. And I showed her, and she's like, oh my God, that's so impressive. And I mentioned that I have a journalist who should be publishing my TSW story by the end of this week. And she gave me her personal email to mail it to her. She wants to read my story. And while it might not change anything, the fact that she's interested in it and that she is in the medical field, my hopes would be, which when I send her the email, I'm going to include all the information about ITSAN and like Dr. Marvin Rappaport and a few other links. And I also mentioned that she please show these things to the head dermatologist there, because while I don't think he would not listen to me, I think he would listen to her better if she's like, hey, check this out. This is really interesting. This is pretty amazing. She's actually a patient here. Look at this. So I'm gonna ask her in the email to do that, if she would please do that. Show him ITSAN and my story and all that. So yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome, because, you know, from my experience with the derm in Georgia, that would not have been the case. That lady wouldn't have even given me enough of her time. She wouldn't have even cared enough to look into it. So, but yeah, so that's basically it, guys. I'm still doing great, adding the foods that I had tested positive for allergy-wise. My first allergy test in my last video, I mentioned that I was retested for the same food items that I was tested positive for the first time. And the only thing that was consistent with that test and the test that I had a year prior was eggs. So I have added everything else back into my diet, and my skin is still doing really good. Everything else is still pretty much the same. Besides that, I still don't, you know, for the most part, use anything on my skin. No medicine. Still doing great being off Dupixent. And everything's still going really good. For anyone that's interested in how my daughter's skin is doing, because also in a past video, I had mentioned how she had a rash, supposed to be eczema, after using amoxicillin, which is an antibiotic that she went on for an ear infection. And a few days into using the medication, she broke out with a rash from like her head all the way down her stomach. And her doctor said it was eczema. And she had had no history of eczema before then. 2 years later, it's been about 2 years since then for her as well, or maybe even a little longer. She's eczema free. She has no rashes. No, she doesn't even have dry skin anymore. Her skin is normal. Whatever normal is healthy. I'll say that. She has healthy skin. I still moisturize her skin when I get her out of the tub, but it's not needed. Like, her skin would probably be fine if I use nothing on it. So yeah, that's basically everything. That's it. I'm still doing great, and I pray that each and every one of you warriors who watch these videos know in your heart, and if you have doubts, please keep faith. I don't care what you believe in, what God you choose to believe in, whoever you pray to or whoever you don't pray to, or whatever you find comfort in that keeps you going. Please, please, please lean on that. I said this in my last video, and I want to say the video before that, but it is very, very important to stay in a positive mindset going through this. I still have days where I think, what if I try something new on my skin and then I just have flare up and I just start oozing all over again? I still have thoughts like that from time to time. They kind of creep, you know, into my head, and they're there. And then I'm like, my husband will reassure me, like, you know, that's not gonna happen. You haven't used steroids, that's not gonna happen. And if it does, we'll deal with it. We will handle it. I'll be here for you. And so, you know, he is who helps me stay positive when my mind starts to kind of, you know, have doubts about it. And I'm very, very, very grateful for him staying with me throughout this entire journey, and especially sticking with me when I looked unrecognizable, and still telling me that I was beautiful even when I absolutely hated to look at myself in the mirror. I could never repay him or ever show him how much gratitude that I have for him for that. So tearing up thinking about it. So yeah, but everything else is going really great, and I love each and every one of you, and I promise that with time things will heal, and you have to believe that. You truly, truly, truly have to believe that. I don't care how you get to believe in it, but you need to find a way to believe it, to say it and believe it, that it's going to happen, you will heal, and things will get better. It does not stay bad the whole time. It doesn't. It doesn't. And I know a lot of people, also another thing, a lot of people say stress is a really big trigger for eczema, and that is true. But I will tell you, I have 4 young kids. I am a stay-at-home mom. I have no friends. You know, I hang out with some of my husband's coworkers, off and on. But I'm normally alone, or I have my husband. And I have family that don't live close to me that I talk to on the phone all the time. But for the most part, you know, the stress is there. The stress is very much there for me. So I will say that if you are stressed out, please don't feel guilty about it, because our bodies learn to adapt. But I will say, take time for you. Take time for you. Go for a walk in the park. If your best is sitting up in bed or just laying in bed that day, because whatever reason you're in pain, you're oozing, you're stuck to your sheets, literally, that's your best. And give yourself a round of applause. Even if you gotta, you know, mentally, because you can't move. Be kind to you. Take time for you. Please. It is very, very important for your mental health. And just remember to take every day 1 minute at a time. 1 day at a time. That is all we have throughout this process is time. So, you know. But I think that pretty much wraps it up for the 2-year update. You guys have a great night. I'm about to go to bed because it is late where I am, and I have to be up in a few hours to take my kids to school, and I have a lot of errand running to do. So I love each and every one of you so much. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I will continue to do updates when there are things to update. Okay, bye.